السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا. صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. My dear respected listeners, for the past few weeks we've been talking about the rights of children over their parents, and we are making this discussion under the broad and vast topic of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask us about on the Day of Judgment. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we have said, has told us that all of you are caretakers or shepherds over someone or somebody, and you will be asked about how you took care of them. And it specifically mentions parents, that they are a caretaker. So a man is responsible for whoever inhabits their house, whoever lives in their house. Unfortunately today, in this environment, we have thought that our children are self-growing plantations who will grow and find their place in the society themselves, and they will find the best thing for themselves. But if you look at it, if that was the case, if that principle was true, that a human being within themselves, without any external influences, were able to find their right way in the society, then there was no reason for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send Anbiya and the books. And there was no reason that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have told us that you have to take care of your children, you have to take care of who they are becoming. So if you are not taking care of how and what our children are becoming, then we are basically leaving that space open to anyone else who can influence them. And that is what is happening with our children, that parents are very laid back, and they think that we are very broad-minded, we are very progressive, by thinking that we are going to let our children decide for themselves what they want to be, what they want to do, and we are not going to become an influence on them. So what are we doing? We are leaving the space, we are leaving that field open for anyone who wants to influence them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from such deranged, such misdirected thoughts. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we had mentioned, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned some rights of children. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we talked about last week, the names that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has emphasized that should be given to our children. Giving them names that make them identify as slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because name is something, the Prophet ﷺ has told us that name is something, that identity that the child carries in this world and in the hereafter as well. So on the Day of Judgment, people will be called by their name and the name of their father. So imagine, na'udhu billah, if we are thinking, and these are very real examples, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all from it, from ever thinking in that way. But imagine a son being called on the Day of Judgment by a non-Muslim name and having a name of a Muslim father, which is what we are doing to our children these days, that since we are living in this society and our children have to grow up and survive in the society, we are thinking of giving them names that are at least neutral, if not fully non-Islamic, at least neutral, so that nobody gets an idea about their identity, na'uzubillah. If you're doing that to your child, how are they going to identify as a Muslim when they grow up? And this is another thing that I want to mention. Our ulama and mashayikh are emphasizing that be very sure about who you are. Know who you are and be proud of it. Although being proud is not something that is praiseworthy, but when you are living in a society that interacts directly on an everyday basis with the enemies of Islam, with those people who cannot tolerate Islam, or who have this mindset, who have this agenda, who say that our society and our culture is a melting pot and everything will come and melt and become one, then if you are existing in that society, you have to very jealously guard your identity. Be very proud of what you are. Know it fully who you are and be proud of it. And never be ashamed of proclaiming it. Because may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, there is some really beautiful brothers who are saying that, oh my brother, we don't know, we cannot decide, we cannot judge who is right and who is wrong, and we will never judge, and maybe we don't know that who is going to be better, who is better in the eyes of Allah, and those kind of nonsense talk. If you are saying that you don't know who's better, na'uzu billah, you are saying that all the khalaiq, all the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are there to guide you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the mawjudat, all the mashhudat, all things that are there, all things that you've experienced in your life, and the sending of 124,000 anbiya, and the sending of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all of it was in vain. And that did not even serve this key purpose of telling you who's better and who's inferior, of telling you who's right and who's wrong. So you are basically putting in the minds of your children that everyone is equal. Then become a Christian yourself, na'uzu billah. Become an atheist yourself, that you don't even know who's right and who's better. Na'uzu billahi min dhalik. So my dear respected brothers, if we don't carry a sense of pride of being a Muslim, how can we give it to our children? How can we tell them that we are Muslims, we do things this way? We are different from everyone around us that we interact with. We have a special way of doing everything. We have we have key differences, and we will stick to those differences, and we will stick to that identity, no matter what comes. If we don't do that, my dear respected brothers, we will be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. We will be asked about what we gave to our children, what we made them. The Prophet ﷺ, there's a hadith that we all must have heard, but we never paid attention to them. The Prophet ﷺ has told us that when your child is able to speak, the first words when they are able to speak, teach them to say La ilaha illallah. Imagine what the Prophet ﷺ is telling us. The Prophet ﷺ is not telling us to teach them to call after you as Baba and Dada and Nana and whatnot. The Prophet ﷺ is telling you to teach them to say what? La ilaha illallah. The Prophet ﷺ is emphasizing, make this their first kalima. Make this the first thing that they say. You try your best. And when they are passing away, again, from their life, the beginning of life, give them a name that identifies with as a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they are able to speak, teach them La ilaha illallah. Teach them their identity sentence, the kalima, and all their life work on it. And when they are passing away, again, if they are passing away before your eyes, encourage them to say the same kalima, La ilaha illallah. So imagine what the Prophet ﷺ is telling us to do. All their life, from the beginning to the end, be worried about their iman. Be worried about their kalima. Don't be a laid-back parent. Never be a laid-back parent. Never be someone who thinks that my children can grow up and survive in the society and find the right way for themselves. My dear respected brothers, this will decide for many of us our Jannah and our hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ has very clearly told us, we will be asked about it. We will be asked about it. We cannot be passive about what our children are becoming. The Prophet ﷺ has told us that when your child becomes 7 years of age, be worried about their salah. Try to encourage them, bring their life to salah. And when they become 10, when they reach that age, you punish them if they are not praying. You make sure that they are praying. You make sure that they are praying. Allahu Akbar. My dear respected brothers, in these are pointers. The Prophet ﷺ has told us that what should you be worried about. The Prophet ﷺ, there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that never ever has a father given a gift to their children better than giving them good akhlaq, giving them good adab, giving them the etiquettes of life. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and my mashayikh have mentioned here, muhaddithin, that there's another hadith which says, "Akrimu awladakum wa ahsinu adabahum," and this hadith specifically mentions the father. The responsibility of the father is much more than the mother in the upbringing of their children, because the father is that person who traditionally interacts with the environment of outside the home. He knows about the society much better than the wife who is traditionally supposed to stay at home. The Prophet ﷺ has mentioned this, that in the absence of a man, a woman is the in charge and the guardian and the responsible person, the answerable one over the house. The primary responsibility of what is inside the house is of the woman, and the primary responsibility of interacting with the environment is of the man. And the upbringing of children, and to keep a very close watch over their children, who my child is interacting with, who is his friends or her friends, that is the responsibility primarily of the father. The Prophet ﷺ has said, this is the reason why I emphasize this word, the Prophet ﷺ has said, never ever has a father given a better gift to their children than giving them good etiquettes, teaching them good etiquettes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. But living in this society, we have become impressed with their ways. And the core of all our problems, at the core of all our problems is that we have an inferiority complex, my dear respected brothers. We are ashamed of being Muslims. Na'udhu billah. We think that we are not going to be surviving in this world as much as, or surviving in a good fashion, in a better way in this world as a Muslim. We think that we are not able to, we will not be able to. And as long as Muslims have that, either decide for yourself that na'udhu billah will not be a Muslim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. But if you are a Muslim and you have said La ilaha illallah and you identify yourself as a Muslim, then the only way of honor is in following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can try your best going and trying to adopt the ways of the kuffar. You will die trying, but you will not find real respect. You can experience, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, but there's examples everywhere around us. Our Muslim brothers who want to become very much a part of this society, they try really hard, but their lives are miserable. Their lives are miserable. When their children grow up, they have no source of sustenance. They cannot rely on their children. They do not get anything from their children. They end up very lonely. They die very, very alone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. All their life that they spend in adapting to this society and becoming a part of this society, all of this is shown to them before they die, before they pass away. All of that comes before them. I can count tens of examples on my fingers right now. In my family, in my relatives, in my friends who were supposed to be religious people, who were supposed to be people who cared about their deen. This society ruined it all for them. My dear respected brothers, if we are living in this society, we need to be very, very, very careful. Our children are what we are going to reap in this world and in the hereafter as well. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the right mind, the right thought. One thing that we should take care of is that you can only give to somebody when you have that thing yourself. So it becomes all the more important. My friends who have not become parents yet, or my friends who are parents, at every point of life, it becomes all the more important that you yourself know your deen, that you yourself are connected with an environment of your deen. Because if you have the right environment for yourself and for the children, things become very easy. The job becomes easier. When you are in the right environment, you are not the only person teaching them deen, but the whole environment is teaching them deen. So think how life will become easy and how your akhirah will become easy if you connect with the places of deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us an understanding. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant the speaker and the listeners action upon what was heard and said. Ameen ya rabbil alameen.